The major problem with Para is that it doesn't allow you to link notes between folders. Say you're reading Thinking Fast and Slow and want to apply the notes into your life. You could argue it could go into the resources, areas, or projects folder. But because Para doesn't allow you to link, you can't do that. As a result, you feel frustrated, confused, and in danger of giving up note-taking altogether. The solution is to create what fellow PKMer Nick Milo calls maps of content. Maps of content are simply notes linked to other notes. And because we make them from links, we can link between folders. By creating maps of content in Obsidian, you have the actionability that Para creates with the flexibility that maps of content give. So in this video, we're gonna dive head first into why you should create MOCs, when you should create MOCs, the 5 levels of MOC creation, what you can create MOCs for, and then how to integrate MOCs with Para, the Zettelkasten, and with school. Doesn't matter whether you use Obsidian or not, because the principles I teach in this video are going to apply to any linked-based knowledge management system. By the end of this video, you are going to be a note-taking wizard so powerful, even Gandalf would be scared. Hello, it's me, Aiden, but smaller. So, firstly, why should you create MOCs in the first place? There's 3 reasons. Firstly, MOCs allow you to link notes in multiple places, which allows you to get past the folder-based rigidity of the Para system. And secondly, MOC organized systems reduce the need for folders and tags. There's a long debate in the PKM community about whether to use folders, tags, or links, and MOCs solve that because they are predominantly link-based. I think a predominantly link-based system can work inside of Obsidian and other note-taking apps. And thirdly, MOCs allow you to think bottom up and top down, which is super useful because bottom-up thinking allows you to find really insightful new ideas on the really in-depth bottom-up level, whereas top-down thinking through looking at something more in a map allows you to see the forest inside of the trees. MOCs let you do both. When should you create MOCs? There are generally 2 times. The first is when you hit a mental squeeze point, which is defined by Nick Milo as when the level of disorganization becomes so overwhelming that you simply have to organize in some way. So for me, this would look like if I created so many psychology notes that my head was gonna explode. Definitely has not happened. The second is when you're outlining a project. So you might be doing a learning project for content creation, or a essay for school, or a project for your workplace. Any of these cases, phenomenal time to create a MOC. Now that we know when you should create a MOC, let's dive into how you actually create one. Before we go into the 5 levels, I do want to say I learned these levels from Nick Milo and his Linking Your Thinking workshop. So if you guys want to check that out, click the link up above to check out the workshop page. Phenomenal course. Now, I'm gonna take you through these 5 levels using my gamification MOC as an example. The first level is creating isolated notes. This is where you create notes on the information that you consume throughout your days. And for my gamification MOC, I hadn't even created it yet at this level. I just had a few notes that resonated with me from conversations, books, and other mediums. So these 3 notes right here are examples of those. Games have more epic goals than real life, games have clearer goals than real life, and games have a tighter feedback system than real life. Each of these is an individual note with stuff inside of them. And the second level is when I started growing and connecting these notes together, like my own little personal garden. I've always wanted to garden, but I'm only 20. So this is my way of gardening before I have to be one of those 60-year-olds that has one of those gardens and all they do is water stuff all day. Man, my jokes are horrible today. In level 2, you start growing and connecting your notes together, which could involve adding more information, expanding upon an idea, making something more concise, and my favorite, connecting notes to other notes. If you want to hear more about how to do that, check out my video, 6 simple methods for creating and growing your concept notes over time in Obsidian up above. So when I did this with all the previous notes that I had, I started to grow connections between them. If I click on games have more epic goals in real life, it is connected to this note right here. Games have clearer goals than real life, and games have a tighter feedback system than real life. So they're starting to all connect together at this stage. Level 3 was actually creating the mock. So at this point, I wanted a bird's eye view of the relationships between the notes that I was connecting. So I might have hit my mental squeeze point, or I was outlining a project, and this is when the mock creation process actually begins, which takes place over 3 steps. The first is dumping, which does not involve pooping. I know it has associations, but it involves creating your mock note, putting in the mock template, which I have right here, and then dumping every relevant note or even any mock that's related you can think of. Now, the reason I love this template is because it collects all the mocks that already link to the mock that I created, and it also collects all the relevant concept notes. So think about how awesome that is. When I create my mock, already have all of this background information. I've been connecting to it over time before it's even been created, and now I can dump it all in to my mock note as a starting point for my mock creation. I don't have to start from scratch. So this is what my gamification mock looked like during the dump stage. As you can see, just a whole bunch of notes put inside of it, nothing else. I could even add some random writing if I wanted to when I was doing this, but I did not. It doesn't all have to be notes. It could also be writing. Then we have the lump stage, which is where you take all of your dumpings. Really gonna have to thank me for not making a poop joke. Like, it's hard. And you lump them together based on theme. So some additional questions that I asked myself during this stage were, how should I structure my mock? What notes should I include in my mock? Should I write my mock in paragraph or in bullet form? And after running through this with my gamification mock, it started to look like this. Look at how nice and organized that is. It's so much better than before. It's like a college dorm room that has been miraculously made into a livable living place. Have you ever walked into a college dorm room? They're disgusting. You don't want me to turn the camera this way because you will see my roommate's side of the room, which is quite frankly unlivable. I try to ignore my bed. I'm ranting. But point is that your mock will look so much better once you go through this process. Then the third step is jump, which is where you jump like a kangaroo. I'm sorry, I had to make that joke. You let your mock simmer. No, you don't literally cook it on the stovetop, although I do love cooking, but you do give it some time to marinate. And then you come back to the mock later on, which is something that actually works with the way our brain works, because we think in focus thinking and diffuse thinking. Focus thinking is what we use when we're doing a problem, we're really focused, we're writing intently on something. Diffuse thinking is the thinking you do in the shower or when you're walking around the grocery store. You're not particularly thinking about anything. So by giving yourself some time to diffuse think and then coming back to your mock, you have so many new ideas, and you now can structure it in a different way, add new stuff like that. You find new connections and insights. And one of the beautiful things about creating mocks that I've noticed is once you create the initial outline of the mock, you start to subconsciously think about it more in your everyday life. Like, I created a mock a few weeks ago on what is insight, because I was interested, like, what is insight? And once I did that, as I consumed information throughout my day, I started to search for things that were related to that mock subconsciously. So something new would come up that I could add to it, and I was like, I should add that to my insight mock. That'll be sick. And that wouldn't have happened if I'd never created the mock. So creating these mocks serves as a way to restructure how you attend to the world in a way that helps you progress towards your goals. Finally, we have level 4, which is linking mocks together. It's mockception, because you link mocks to other mocks. So you can see with my gamification mock from before, I have some other mocks inside of it, like the flow state mock, which is a whole nother mock with a whole bunch of stuff that is also linked to other mocks, like the self. And then I also have my happiness mock linked inside of the gamification mock. So by linking all these mocks together, I can start to create a system, a knowledge base that expands over time. And then that's when we get to the level 5, which is the ultimate level, creating a home note, where you essentially create a mock of all of your highest order mocks. You can think of the home note as your beginning, your end, your launch pad. It is what allows you to do top-down thinking with bottom-up thinking. And it's exactly like creating a mock in how you create it. You dump, you lump, then you jump. But I do organize it differently from my normal mocks because I use it as like the home base of my entire system. So if we look at my home note, you can see it's organized a little bit differently than my other mocks. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tour of my home note. It's gonna be so fun. Firstly, we have my encounter box, which is the adventure jump off point. The encounter box has all of my notes that I've recently created that are ready to be worked on. The last 20 notes I've recently created, you can see the code for that here if I click on it, and you can copy that in your own system. And this is a great place to start a note-making session because these are all stuff that are highly relevant of mind and I'm ready to work on soon. It also says how long they've been alive because I'm gonna kill them. I'm joking, I'm not gonna kill them. I'm gonna grow them. I'm gonna take care of these notes like they were my own dogs. And then we have my literature notes mock, which has 5 of my most recent literature notes. Literature notes are just notes that I take on literature that I consume, like podcasts, books, conversations, articles, videos, lectures. And I can go in here and go through my most recent literature notes and process them into concept notes and connect those and grow those over time to eventually become mocks. So you can see the code for that here as I click each of these, pretty basic code. I then have a boat box, which is where I have all my notes that are not connected to anything else. They just, well, that they have like the boat emoji. So I should go in here and figure out where to connect these two. Then I have my who am I note. I'm not gonna click on that because that has a whole bunch of personal information, but it has like my values, people I respect the most, content that I've resonated most with, stuff like that. Then I have some decision log, failure learning log. Also not gonna click on those are personal. Finances mock, my mood tracker. I have a relationships mock with all of the prominent people in my life that I take notes on. Also personal. And then I have, this is a really fun one, that interest station, my library. This holds all of my high level interests, which using a top-down time-tested organizational method, which is the Derby decimal system. So I organize it from top to down by putting all of my related mocks under the relevant sections for the Derby decimal system. So I have all my mocks on knowledge management right here, all my mocks on personal management, and then philosophy, spirituality, religion, and psychology. You can see a little bit of a bias in my interests by what is here versus what's here, 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 and here. I've not updated this in a while, so I'm gonna add in some other mocks that I've been working on recently, because this makes me seem like a monomaniac, just solely interested in philosophy and psychology, spirituality, and religion. But I will update that soon, so that is not the case. And then finally, I have my content creation mock, which is where I have all my content creation tips, fundamentals, how to effectively email market, storytell, and then all of the links to my content from the past. Look at how many newsletters I've done, and YouTube videos, and blog posts, quite a bit of content. And yeah, that's a good tour of my home note. So question becomes, what can you create mocks for? That's a good question. I personally create it for content like videos, blog posts, newsletters, outlining an essay, finding holes in my knowledge of a topic, better understanding my knowledge in an area, sending as a gift to a friend or family member. I can just send them my mock through my published Obsidian garden and be like, here you go, my gift to you. Don't know why I'm using this accent right now. Outlining a project, mapping out my learnings for school, and more. They're so useful. Finally, how do we integrate these with Para and the Zettelkasten? Well, the first thing I want to say is I'm not saying you shouldn't use Para in Obsidian, right? It's a great method, Tiago Forte, I love his work. However, if you want to learn how to integrate it with MOCs especially, I've given you a replacement for Para in MOCs, but if you want to learn how to integrate them together, I would recommend checking out my friend John Maverick's video on how to do that in Obsidian up above, because he does a much better job of explaining it than I could in this video. In addition, if you want to learn how to integrate MOCs with a Zettelkasten, you should check out my ultimate beginner's guide to starting a Zettelkasten in Obsidian as a student. For those who don't know, a Zettelkasten is a note-taking system used by Nicholas Luhmann, a German sociologist in the early 20th century, that helped him connect atomic notes together to form interesting insights and create so much stuff. Finally, how do you integrate MOCs with school? Well, MOCs are especially useful for maximizing your understanding of your college classes. So using MOCs, you can create a map of what you're gonna learn for a course top down, and then add to it as the semester goes on, which allows you to compound your knowledge across time. So if you wanna see how to do that, check out my 4-step mock creation process that I use to maximize understanding of my college classes in Obsidian to learn more. And then finally, what is the mindset shift that's gonna come from building MOCs in a home note? When I started doing it, I can tell you 3 profound things happened, which is first, I fell more in love with learning because MOCs make learning so fun. You can see the process of your ideas growing. You can do both bottom up and top down thinking. You can add your own unique perspective. It's so fun. I also began to build a personal unique knowledge base that scales over time. By taking notes in this mock way, connecting notes together, connecting MOCs together, adding them to your home note, you're going to build this incredible knowledge base that grows with you as you grow, right? How often have we felt like we start a new project and we're starting from scratch? You don't have to do that when you create MOCs, because they grow with you over time. And then finally, I stopped procrastinating on note-taking, trying to find the best tagging, folder, and link system, because the fact is there is no best system, right? There's so many infinite ways that you can organize with them. And I personally have found that linking takes the best of all of them and simplifies it into just doing that with links. Because you can get the best of what folders and tags give you, which is folder that gives you rigid structure, and tagging gives you structure. I don't even know how to explain it, but linking gives you everything that tagging and folders give you, but with more flexibility. That doesn't mean you can't use tags and folders. I still do as well, but I use them less than links. So now you know how to create MOCs, but you might still be confused on how to grow and connect notes together to create MOCs out of them. If that's the case, check out my video, 6 simple methods for creating and growing your concept notes in Obsidian over time to learn more. As always, have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye-bye.